All right, this is our seventh and final lecture from chapter 13. And the topic today is hydrogen fuel and the future. So let's start with the future. Our current model is that we have a large central power plant that generates all of the electricity for a region and then distributes it. What people are thinking about as a possible future for energy in our country is that we would have a decentralized power system. Now, this would mean we might have things like rooftop solar arrays on houses, and all houses have them. So the houses themselves are generating some electricity, which is then sent to the grid. We might have bioenergy power plants, wind farms, small solar cell power plants, all of those things generating electricity being sent to the grid. And then we might also have industrial operations or micro turbines that are generating electricity. So the idea is that the transmission and distribution system is central, and then all of the energy that's produced from each of the locations is sent to that system, and then when energy is needed, it's also drawn from that system. So we would be trying to produce as much energy as we can in a lot of different ways, rather than relying on only one thing like a major power plant to supply our energy. So there's the vision for the future. Now let's talk about what our cars may look like. So hydrogen as a fuel. Hydrogen is a very amazing fuel. When you burn hydrogen gas with water, the product is, hydrogen gas with oxygen, the product is H2O or water. So burning hydrogen combines hydrogen and oxygen. We get water out the other side. Literally just water. That's it. No sulfur, no nitrogen oxides, no carbon monoxide, no carbon at all. Just water. It's quite an amazing fuel. It is absolutely the cleanest burning type of fuel. Because they have no carbon dioxide emissions, it's even cleaner than natural gas. And hydrogen can be produced relatively easily by passing an electrical current through water. Now this process is called electrolysis, and it actually splits the water molecules into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. It's pretty fantastic. Now here's the only thing we need to remember. Hydrogen is a fuel. It's not a source of energy. We don't have any way of collecting all of the hydrogen in the universe, just as is. So what we do is we use electrolysis, so we use electricity to generate hydrogen, and then we take that hydrogen and burn it somewhere else. So hydrogen is sort of like your flash drive. We're just using it to move files from one place to another. It's not an application. It's not, its own system. It's just a way of transferring that energy. So we can store the energy in hydrogen, and then we can burn it later whenever we want it. So true or false? Hydrogen is a source of energy and can generate new energy. Is that A, true, or B, false? Go ahead and think about that in light of what we just discussed and choose the best answer. And the correct answer is B, that's false. Hydrogen is not a source of energy. Hydrogen cannot generate new energy. Hydrogen is just a way of storing energy that already exists. So here's how we might possibly store that. We have two different reaction layers with a membrane in between. And basically the hydrogen comes in one side, the oxygen comes in the other side. And as the reaction takes place, protons are exchanged through the membranes. But because of the charge on the membrane, the electrons have to take an alternate route. And so they go around, which is where we get the electrical current, the movement of electrons. And then our product there, you can see number 4, the oxygen molecules are split. They combine with the protons and electrons, they form water, and that's in the lowest reaction layer. So if you don't want to try and memorize the technical details, that's fine, you don't have to. Here's what a car would look like. So there would be a fuel cell stack in the middle, which is where all of that hydrogen and the electrons and everything are going on. There would be a couple of hydrogen cylinders or tanks that we would refill as needed. A battery in case we need to store some energy there. and then we would have an input of oxygen. Right here on the top would be an input of oxygen, and then an output of water on the bottom, and that would be our product. And then the electrical current would be sent to the motor. So we would be using an electric motor, which means it would be a lot quieter, I think, than a lot of the internal combustion engine motors. And then each wheel would have its own drive shaft. Potentially each wheel could have its own motor, but each wheel would have its own drive shaft so they could be controlled independently. All right, so what are our advantages of hydrogen? First of all, no harmful emissions. Burning hydrogen produces water, period. Secondly, hydrogen is more fuel efficient. They've actually done some studies where they find that pound for pound, hydrogen as a fuel will take you farther, get you more bang for your buck than any of the fossil fuels. Hydrogen is also readily available because it is the most abundant element in the universe. And it's a little bit difficult to access, but at least we know we have lots of it. Some of the disadvantages of hydrogen. First of all, it's only as clean as the energy we use to produce it. So remember that in order to create hydrogen, we need to run an electrical current through water. So if we burn fossil fuels to produce that electricity that we're then going to use to make hydrogen, we haven't really solved any problems. We haven't fixed anything because we're just transferring where the pollution is coming from. However, if we use something like solar cells, photovoltaic cells, if we were to use something like wind power or hydroelectric power, we would have a clean source of energy. Hydrogen then would be clean energy. Hydrogen is also one of the disadvantages is that it's difficult to store. It's a gas. If you don't keep it under pressure in a tank, it's going to leak out. So this can be a problem, potentially. You don't really want to have a flammable gas leaking out from around your car. Finally, the last disadvantage of hydrogen is that there's almost no infrastructure currently to support hydrogen fuel cell cars. Like I know, for example, that I have one hydrogen refill station near my house, but that's it. And I don't know of any near work. So if I had to drive from one place to the other and I ran out of hydrogen along the way, it's not like I can get off at any exit and find a gas station. I mean, there are gas stations there, but they won't sell the fuel that I need. So we're, like it says on there, our nation is built around gas stations, not around hydrogen fuel stations. So if we really want to see companies take off with this hydrogen idea, what we need is more infrastructure, more fueling stations that are located all around the place so that people who are driving a hydrogen-powered car do not feel vulnerable. And they know that they have the fuel that they need and they can get it wherever they go. So final quiz question for you. Which of the following is true of hydrogen fuel cells? Is it A, fuel cells produce only carbon dioxide and water? B, if hydrogen is produced using fossil fuels, it is not really cleaner than other fuel types? C, hydrogen is a rare gas and is therefore difficult to collect? Or D, hydrogen fuel cells are less efficient than internal combustion engines? Now, hopefully you all were paying attention. Go ahead and choose the best answer. Pause if you need to. And the correct answer is B. Now, if hydrogen is produced using fossil fuels, it is not really cleaner than the other fuel types. In this question, we were looking for which of the following is true. So we were looking for a true statement. That means that all the rest of them on that page were false. Now that is actually all we have. The last lecture of the semester. Can you believe it? Go ahead and if you have any questions, jot them down, ask me in class. Otherwise, I will see you all soon.